The great queen, Nefertari of the land of Egypt, speaks thus. To my sister, Pudehepa, the great queen of the Hittite land, I, your sister, also be well. May your country be well. I have learned that you, my sister, have written to me asking after my health. You have written to me because of the good friendship and brotherly relationship between our brother and the king of Egypt. The Egyptian sun god and the Hittite storm god will bring about peace, and he will make the brotherly relationship between the great kings last forever. I have sent you a gift in order to greet you, my sister. For your neck, a necklace of pure gold, composed of 12 bands and weighing 88 shekels, blue-coloured linen for one royal dress for the king, and a total of 12 linen garments.
Ramses I was of non-royal birth, being born in the Nile Delta region near the former Hyksos capital of Avaris on the border with Sinai and Israel. Ramses I's uncle married a priestess of Amun, and using this high rank of the priestess of Amun, Ramses became friends through this family connection with the current pharaoh Horemheb. Horemheb, liking Ramses I, promoted him to high priest of Amun, and later on, even promoting Ramses I to vizier of Horemheb. Horemheb, having no children, then appointed Ramses I to become his royal successor. Ramses I had an incredibly short reign, for only 17 months. It's quite interesting when you look at his story. His body was found in the 1800s and was taken to Canada. It is only recently that the Boston Museum bought the mummy of Ramses I from Canada for $2 million. The Boston Museum returned the body of Ramses I to Egypt, where it is currently being housed in the Luxor Museum. The Valley of the Kings contains one of the deepest tombs for the son of Ramses I. You can feel these ancient spirits watching you as you go deeper underground into this vast burial chamber. This is the burial chamber of the tomb of Seti I, the father of Ramses II. It's one of the deepest tombs in the valley. It's a closed tomb to the public. And to be in here, the size, I can't even explain. I'm talking in a whisper because it's just so magical and the colors are so bright. We have the night sky above. Look at the ceiling with the night sky, and we have Isis with her sister Nephthys on either side. And the journey of the king on the boats on the Nile, going to the afterlife. It's beautiful. The ceiling depicts the Egyptian star signs, as well as the journey that the king would have to take with the sun god during the night. Seti's tomb also includes the story of the destruction of mankind, where an enraged Ra has asked Hathor to transform into the furious goddess Sekhmet and come down to earth to vanquish the people who have not agreed with his religion. However, the people then feed Sekhmet a dyed beer which looks like blood, and Sekhmet in her intoxicated state forgets about her mission on earth to destroy people, leaving them with a very important lesson about their beliefs. Over many parts of the tomb, you will see Seti depicted directly with the gods, including the god of the afterlife, Osiris. Apart from Osiris, we also see Seti depicted with Anubis, the leader of the dead, and Ra, the sun god, who will carry his spirit over the sky. We also see him with Horus, and all these gods are coming together to ensure that Seti is welcomed into the afterlife and receives an eternal life. On a column, we also see the young prince Ramses II, who was there to welcome his father's sarcophagus into the tomb. In the room known as the Hall of Beauties, Seti is giving an offering of food and drink to Hathor. Seti ruled for about 12 years, but because of the ambitious task of building his tomb to include as many religious texts as possible, many of the rooms were left unfinished. This tomb was discovered in 1817 by Giovanni Belzoni. Seti was a prolific ruler who set out to reaffirm Egypt's status after the rule of Akhenaten. Taking back command over Egypt's borders, including Palestine, Canaan, Syria, the Hittites, and the Nubians, this tomb is very fitting. The pharaoh that we're looking at now is Seti I, the father of Ramses II. Seti's mummy is known as one of the best preserved mummies. If you look at his face, his skin, his eyes, his lips are just perfect. And he's here with his arms crossed in the kingly pose. And just look at how handsome Seti would have been. A very handsome pharaoh indeed. To show his devotion to the gods, and above all Amun-Ra, Seti started his biggest building project with 134 columns and a height of 24 meters. The hypostyle hall at Karnak is monumental. Karnak temple has the most amount of pillars. This is the hypostyle hall completed by Ramses II, started by his father Seti I, and I believe it takes something like 12 men to stand around one pillar to actually get the size. And these pillars are absolutely enormous, and it's almost like a forest of stone. And you can only imagine what this looked like. It would have been colored. Here you can still see some of the blue on the foot of Amun. as you come out of the hypo-style hall, on the side here is something I have never seen or heard about before. It's the battle of Seti I with Lebanon. And this battle was started about wood because Seti wanted these specific trees from Lebanon, and the Lebanese did not want to give it to Seti. So he went in, he fought against them. You can see Seti riding in on his horse and his chariot, killing the people, fighting, and then eventually at the top, the leader of Lebanon surrendering and giving the trees over to Seti. And this was built by Ramesses II to tell the story of his father. He wanted people to remember what his father did. And this is interesting because if the wood was so precious to Ramses and to his father Seti, that might explain why Ramses' coffin was created out of wood. And if you come around the corner, and as he comes here, we see Seti crossing the Nile. And this is a great image because we see the Nile, we've got the reeds on either side, and in between we have fish and crocodiles. That's how you know it's the Nile. And as he comes back, the people of Egypt are offering bread and incense to Seti. He's got his captives, and here is Seti giving offerings back to Amun, saying, "Thank you, Amun, for giving me the strength to fight my battles." And Ramses really wanted to tell people how great his father was. This is the coffin that they found Ramses II in. It's a wooden coffin, which is very unusual. It is his coffin, but it's not the original coffin that he was meant to be buried in. Obviously, a king would be buried in gold. However, I have a theory, maybe he liked wood, because this wood coffin, you need to import it. They don't have these trees in Egypt. So that was very precious to them. Here we have the story written by the priests with Ramses Cartouche, where they're telling you how they moved his body to 3 different locations, and then eventually into the cache where they found all the other royal mummies. But for me, even though this is wood, it is still extremely beautiful. If Ramses did show his father, Seti, at war over trees with the Lebanese, how do we know that Ramses might have actually said, "Hey, let me make my coffin out of the same wood that my father fought over"? As we know, family was so important to Ramses II, and this wood that his father went to war over would have been of extreme family importance. At Luxor Temple, this is the second courtyard, and it is surrounded by statues of Ramses II. And as you come along here, we see the 2 granite statues of Ramses with his wife at his knee, Nefertari. Here is where Ramses II would celebrate the Opet festival of the 3 main deities of Thebes: Amun, his wife Mut, and their son Khons. The Islamic call to prayer coming from the mosque inside Luxor Temple is one of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard. Ramses II did nothing on a small scale. He built large and he loved large, having many wives and almost 100 children. However, the love of his life was to be his great royal wife, Queen Nefertari. Simbel for Ramses II. This is my second time being here, and I cannot explain to you what it's like to look at this. It's just enormous, so you really get a sense of what this great man must have been like. Ramses II led his first battle at the age of 14 on behalf of his father, Seti I. He was crowned as pharaoh at the age of 19. He fought battles against the Nubians, the Libyans, Canaan, Assyria, the Hittites, and even the Sardinian pirates, which he recorded on a stela at his city in Tanis. Underneath Ramses' feet, here at his throne, you can see all of his enemies that he's conquered. Sometimes he didn't actually conquer them, it was just a city. They weren't captives, it was just a city that he took over. You can see each different face and the style of the hair that lets you know what area they're from. Like you can tell, the Syrians with the beard and the hair, and all of the different faces. And on this side, these are the African enemies, or the African captives that he had. Ramses II was a great pharaoh, a great builder, and that is why he's called Ramses the Great. Inside Abu Simbel, you will see a lot of depictions, but the most important is the depiction of Battle of Kadesh, which is Ramses' biggest battle, and it's actually quite amazing when you see it, so I'll try and show you. Below the pure vulture ceiling, you are surrounded by 8 statues of Ramses on either side. And this is the Battle of Kadesh. Ramses on his chariot with his horse shooting his bow and arrow, showing the battle taking place. And this is known as the biggest battle in history. And it's quite powerful to be in here. You can see him holding the enemies, smiting them. Here he is riding home victorious. Over here is Ramses with Amun, the most powerful god in Egypt. Look at that, spectacular. Inside are many images of Ramses defeating his enemies. However, there are also many depictions of Ramses thanking the gods, thanking them for giving him the strength to defeat his enemies. Twice a year, the sun's rays illuminate the 4 statues of the gods in the innermost sanctuary of Amun, Ra, Ptah, and Ramses himself. It is incredible to stand here and think about how long this has been here, and that this has been made all by hand. The crazy thing is, it was moved in the 60s from its original location because it was going to be flooded by Lake Nasser. And it was also moved by hand. Every block was cut into 16,000 blocks by hand and moved up here. And Ramses was an incredible builder, so I'm pretty sure he would be proud to know that in the modern age, people still celebrate him, and they actually went to the effort to move his temple. I'm sure he would be very impressed in what they did. At the front of the temple, we see the 4 statues of Ramses at different ages of his life. But at the top, we see with his Anubis staff, Ra, or Ra Horakti, staring out at the sun as the sun god. On either side is the king giving an offering of ma'at to maintain balance in his country. And by his knee is his great royal wife, Queen Nefertari, supporting him, and Ramses supported her as much as she supported him as an equal. Nefertari is standing here welcoming us to her temple. She's the wife of Ramses the Great, his favorite wife, and my favorite queen from Egypt. So let's go have a look at what it says above the door, Nefertari, for who the sun shines. Let's go see what the sun is shining on inside. Inside we see the queen wearing her vulture neckbit crown of mut, and alongside each pillar we see the goddess of love and beauty, Hathor. This temple was dedicated to Nefertari in the form of the goddess Hathor, and inside we see Ramses giving many offerings to Hathor, as well as Nefertari holding the Ankh, the key of life, being greeted and cleansed by Hathor and Ma'at. The ever-loving wife, carved for an eternity into stone, shown supporting her husband during his battles. She was unlike most queens, making many important decisions for the country. The sad part of the story is that Nefertari never got to go inside her own temple, as she died around the age of 30, leaving Ramses' life changed forever. Their great love story will be standing here on the banks of the Nile for thousands of years to come. Abu Simbel actually was built by Ramses also to show himself as a god during his later times in his life, but it was also the border between Egypt and Nubia, modern-day Sudan. And as you come here, you would see the Nubians coming from Sudan on the river, which is now Lake Nasser here. They would come, they would see this incredibly huge, imposing temple of Ramses. We have over here his wife Nefertari, who's also shown as the same height as him, and that was to tell the Nubians when they came over the border here, we are in charge and you must respect us. And I'm pretty sure when they saw these amazing temples, they would have felt very intimidated indeed. So just think about this for 1 second. Down here in the water is where Abu Simbel would have been. But obviously in the 60s when they moved it, it was just under the water here. And they moved it 200 meters this way. It is absolutely, I can't explain what it feels like just to know that they were down there and now they're up here. His throne name, Woodside, means the ruler of justice of the Ramses with Horus, and Ramses shown as a young prince. This is beautiful. Queen Meret Amun, Nefertari's daughter, the daughter of Ramses II. When Nefertari tragically died, she took her mother's place as Ramses' wife, but not in that kind of a way. She would just take her mother's role making decisions about the country. This is the daughter of Queen Nefertari, Meret Amun. At 22, Ramses defeated the Nubians and built temples in Nubia. The Nubians actually became almost like allies, So Ramses' army grew even bigger and even stronger, dedicated these temples to Amun-Ra in Sudan, Nubia, as it was known 3,000 years ago. This is the causeway here with sphinxes. Sphinxes in the form of Ramses II. Look at him with his double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. The inside court of the temple was lined with images of Ramses II, imposing images to let the Nubians know that he was in charge at this time. And inside the innermost sanctuary, we have Ramses II offering incense, holding the Ankh, the key of life, offering it to the gods. But to appreciate the full extent of his reign, one needs to return to Thebes. So under each one of these sphinxes is a little statue of Ramses II. So he definitely wanted to leave his mark here. What you're looking at here is a statue which was originally Ramses II with his wife Nefertari underneath, but later on Pharaoh Pedajam came along, he took out the name of Ramses, put his own name on the belt, but interestingly he kept the name of Nefertari, which I think because he liked her so much. During his long and prosperous reign, many people immigrated to Egypt from the Mediterranean and the Middle East into a flourishing country. Karnak is the temple of the supreme god Amun. So this is Pharaoh Ramses II with Amun. Ramses are on the right. Amun, as you can see, is here on the left with the two feathers on his head. And this temple is dedicated to Amun, the creator god. One of the many Egyptian creation myths about Amun is that he created himself, and following that he created the entire universe and the earth with his wife Mut. And from the children of Amun came the plethora of Egyptian deities. Away from the public in the innermost sanctuary is where a select few would go to worship a golden statue of Amun. This is the Ramesseum, the mortuary temple of Ramses II. And as we pass to go towards the temple, on the left here we have his palace where he would have lived with Nefertari. Am I correct?
Yes.
That it was Queen Nefertari?
Yeah.
She was writing letters.
Yes.
To the Hittites.
Yes.
At Kadesh, and trying to make friends, and she is the one who told Ramses
To marry.
Marry the princess.
Yes.
And make peace. It was Nefertari.
Yes, Nefertari.
Very clever woman.
Very clever woman, and I think it is the first peace treaty between two
In the
nations
world.
in the world.
Because of Nefertari.
Yeah, yes, I know your favorite is Nefertari, and also the political marriage, to marry from women from another nation to make a peace treaty. It is some ingenious idea.
Yeah. Behind me now is the original entrance to the mortuary temple, and this is how you would have gone through, and this would have been for Ramses' afterlife. Not his present day, but to worship him after he died as a god. And you can clearly see his name, Ramses.
Yeah.
Wisr Ma'at Ra, Sitib and Ra. Sarah.
Sarah.
Ramses. The Persians came to Egypt and they obviously destroyed quite a lot.
Yes.
They were jealous of the Egyptians. Because of their great civilization, they were jealous.
They are jealous because the ancient Egyptians, they made a lot of achievements. And they had like heating inside or envy inside.
Yeah.
So when they occupied Egypt, they were very mad from the ancient Egyptian civilization.
Yes.
They heard about this statue which is located in the West Bank. They asked, where is the monuments here?
And they came to destroy it.
They couldn't. What they do, they made a huge fire for 2 weeks.
To make a crack, yeah.
To make a crack only, and after that they wrapped the statue with the huge ropes and hundreds of men.
And pulled his head down.
Yes.
It takes a lot more than a couple of men and some fire to destroy Ramses' monuments. A solid granite bust of Ramses II. And this head should have been on that statue over there, but it was destroyed by the Persians and found here. What's amazing is that you can still see the red and the yellow stripes here on the Nemes headdress. As you walk up, we have these 4 massive statues of Ramses II in the shape of Osiris, the god of the afterlife, the god of the underworld.
I actually feel very sad for Ramses II. He lived until about the age of 96. And, you know, after Nefertari's death, he became very depressed. He took on more religious roles. He didn't want to do battle anymore. He felt very defeated and almost like a gap was missing after Nefertari died.
You can see a depiction of his wife, Nefertari. She's holding the 2 instruments summoning the goddess Hathor, the goddess of love.
There's a possible link between Nefertari and Pharaoh I. We presume they might have been family because of a walking stick found in Nefertari's tomb bearing the name of I. You can notice all the pigeons that have made this their home, but a beautiful thing to look at is still the blue and the green on the ceilings of these enormous pylons, the columns going up. The colors are just still so bright. You can imagine what this would have looked like. It would have been colorful, blue and green and red everywhere.
Ramses is running over the enemy. He's actually trampling over the enemies. And he's up there with his bow and his arrow and killing the people of Kadesh. He was extremely proud about the Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites, and Ramses recorded this battle on almost every temple wall that he built.
His 13th son, Merenptah, became the next pharaoh. Ramses, during the later stages of his reign, he sent out his sons to do the battle because after Nefertari died, he just felt that he couldn't go on. And it almost must have been like a curse that he lived so long, as almost all of his children would die before him and he outlived them, as the average age was only around 30 to 40.
What we're seeing here is Ramses I writing his name, handing it over to Ramses II, handing over his royal name. And over here we have Thoth and Sesat, and Thoth being the god of writing, Sesat his consort, and Sesat also being the goddess of astrology.
In 1974, a French Egyptologist decided to do a Ramses II exhibition. She convinced the Egyptian Prime Minister President at the time to send the body of Ramses II to Paris. And it is actually here that this amazing woman decided to preserve the body of Ramses, as it was decaying quite a lot. Even his hand moved on its own. The great king moved his hand. 3,000 years after his death, his hand moved. And this amazing woman decided she was going to radiate Ramses' body to destroy all the bacteria in it, to preserve the great king. And it's very interesting, the results that we found from his DNA tests. He was a redhead, and possibly, maybe not even possibly, for sure, not even of Egyptian descent.
This is the original pathway that was here a long time ago. And this side, we have all of the kitchens and everything where they would prepare food and take care of the priests, and also Ramses and his wife and his other wives over there in the palace. And this is where they did all the cooking. It's absolutely incredible. You can see in here, you can see an oven, you can see where an ancient style fridge. This was like the servants' area where they would prepare things for the king for his everyday life, and also for the priests, because the priests were very important. So they would make the fire here, and on top they would cook their food, their bread, everything on this slab. This is the real part of living in ancient times.
My favorite pharaoh, Ramses II. This is his mummified body. We know that all the mummies were moved from the royal tombs into one royal cache, Ramses' mummy actually being moved 3 times to different tombs until it was placed in the royal cache tomb. The great king lived until his late 90s. Look at his red hair here, his arm, which we discussed how his arm shot up. People say that his statues don't resemble his face, but keep in mind, when you're like something 96 or something like that, you're not going to look how you looked when you were 20 when you had your statues made. I love this. This is an artist's impression of what Ramses II would have looked like when he was a young prince. He would have been very handsome indeed. We all age, we know this. Look at his nose. Your nose grows when you get older. This is common sense. He would have been very handsome, and indeed, he does have the sharp jaw like his statues. This is Ramses here, as an old man, before his death. Teeth problems, the nose has gotten bigger, his skin is sagged, and this is Ramses as his mummy after his death. I stood in the Cairo Museum. I looked at all the mummies in the mummy room, and I got to the end where I saw the mummy of Ramses II. And I stood and examined this king's face for maybe 10 minutes or more. And I just stood there staring at what is known as Ramses the Great, and I cried. I cried for 10 minutes, and I just couldn't take my eyes off this king. You can't explain what it's like to see these mummies. You can laugh, you can cry, you feel scared. It depends on the person's spirit that's coming out. But Ramses, I felt sadness, and I couldn't stop myself from crying when I stood in front of this king.
Even Ramses the Great could not escape death. Although Anubis is very well liked today in modern times by people who've watched movies like The Mummy and that kind of stuff, he was very celebrated back then, but they didn't really make huge monuments to Anubis. They didn't make statues. And behind me is Anubis in the form of a sphinx, and that is actually the biggest statue of Anubis that we have in Egypt today. That is it right there. And on the chin, Ramses II.
Nefertari was indeed ahead of her time. She was a fashionista. These are my pictures that I've taken of the tomb of Nefertari. And what I want to show you is how fashionable this woman was. She was so amazing. Apart from her linen dress, which was so fine you could see her body underneath, no other wife of Ramses II was allowed to do this. Only Nefertari. But here we see her wearing a snake earring and her black bracelets. Here, she's not wearing any earrings at all, and now she's wearing 2 silver bands, also gold bracelets, along with a different collar necklace. As we move to this image, she's changed her outfit again. Every time we see this woman, she's in a different outfit. Here, Nefertari with the goddess Isis, and Nefertari has got a different outfit on. It's a cape which has been tied into a bow in the front, as we can see here, and no earrings at all, no bracelets either. One of my favorite images of her here, with silver and black bracelets. Her collar necklace is so detailed with blues and reds and different patterns compared to the plain gold one we see there. And here Nefertari is wearing a silver earring, which was a gift from a queen of Greece. People all over the world knew of this woman and they sent her gifts to keep Nefertari happy. Here we see Nefertari again sporting her Greek earrings, but this time she's wearing a green necklace. Every time she's wearing something different. And what I want to show you, this dress that she's wearing is a top and a skirt, and the top is a crop top. She has her midriff and her belly button exposed. Everyone thinks, okay, maybe Shania Twain, Celine Dion, Britney Spears, one of these women started this crop top trend. Nefertari, 3,500 years ago, is wearing a crop top. Here we see Nefertari again with her bow tying her cape together, and here her gold bracelets and a double chain bracelet that she's wearing here with the Eye of Horus and the cobra. This bracelet she's wearing here is so detailed and so beautiful, and I've never seen another queen wearing as many different outfits. Just look at this. Every time we see Nefertari, she's wearing something different. She truly was really something quite special.
Beautiful tomb here in Egypt. It is the tomb for Queen Nefertari, the queen of Ramses II. I am so overwhelmed being in here. I have been waiting so long to see this. The god of writing, the god with the ibis head, showing that she can read and write hieroglyphics. She was a very intelligent woman, a very beautiful woman. This is a closed tomb to the public, so I am so happy that I've been allowed access to come in here on my own, and I have a little offering for Queen Nefertari, so I think I'm going to give her a little flower. So beautiful. Nefertari truly was the most beautiful woman here in Egypt.
For me, I am so overwhelmed to be in here. It's amazing. Something interesting you'll notice is that in her tomb, there's not one depiction of her husband, Ramses II. And I like to believe that she is shown on her own here because Ramses loved her so much that he wanted to pay tribute to his great wife by dedicating this tomb, this incredibly magnificent tomb, to Nefertari.
These are the granaries that we're looking at right now, where they would store all of the grain inside. And at the end of the work week, the workers who were building the temples, also the priests and everyone, would come here, and they would come with their little piece of papyrus, and the granary keeper would come and tick off that they've received their money. They got paid in food.
Yes.
It's so cool in here.
Yes, so cool. Yeah.
So this would have kept the grain fresh.
Yes.
Yeah. And there was also, I think in the time of Ramses III, there was a strike that happened where the workers were not getting paid and they refused to work. And they came to these granaries and they looted them and took all the grain out because they wanted to get their money.
Yeah, that's right.
What you're noticing here is these are arches. Not a Roman arch, an Egyptian arch. About 2,000 years before the Romans invented the art, the Egyptians were doing it. This is Medinet Habu, the temple for Ramses III. With no relation to Ramses II, he was merely given the name in honor of his great ancestor.
You want to see the Pharaoh office? Come and see the Pharaoh.
Imagine the activity here. The servants with their fans, food, incense burning, looking at this incredibly beautiful temple being built. I can only imagine it was something to see. And he would sit here on his throne. He would sit here and tell people, build like this, go into that country. When we go to war, this is how you will do it. This is where he commanded his empire from, this spot right here. To the left of his throne is where the vizier and army general were stationed. Apart from being dedicated to religious roles, Medinet Habu was also a war monument, dedicated in part to Sekhmet, where Ramses III showed many of his battles and his campaigns into various countries. Look how deep this is carved. I can fit
The
my
deepest
whole hand.
in all Egypt.
It's so deep,
Yes.
so no other pharaoh could take that away.
And we have a hunting scene here, and it is a unique hunting scene.
Standing in a very, very unique pose, one leg up and really in action. Hunting was a great pastime for many of the kings, and this scene is showing great prosperity in Egypt at that time. This is the lookout tower, and as we know, Ramses III had a huge harem of women, and all the women would actually sit at the top there, and he would sit there as well with them, and that's where they would watch the people coming in and out and basically have a good time in the tower. Ramses III, during one of his battles, they would cut the hands of the enemies to count them, but for the dead enemies, to recount, they cut off the enemy's penis, which you can see here, and that is how they would count how many people they killed in the battle, by piling up every dead man's penis from the battle. But all was not well for this king, as two of his wives were rivaling about which of their sons would become the next pharaoh, and a plot was formed where the harem and one of the wives smuggled in a snake into the pharaoh's bed, which ultimately led to his death. The snake's venom took about 10 days to kill the third Ramses, and this gave him enough time to see justice taken out against these women, of which we still have the written accounts. Among the wonderfully preserved colors, we have the world's first recorded wrestling match. Medinet Habu, meaning the Castle of the Snake, was one of Egypt's best decorated temples and palaces, showing the extreme wealth of Ramses III. Blue, as we know, was one of the most expensive colors to make in the ancient times, having to be made from ground precious stones such as lapis lazuli. You'll notice all of the colors that are still so well preserved here at Medinet Habu, the blue and the green, it's so beautiful. Towards the back, we see a defaced statue of what would have been Ramses III and Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. Close to the public, at the back of the temple, are some of the most exquisite chambers you will ever see.
Oh wow.
This is how the ancient Egyptians saw heaven.
Look at this doorway. We're going through into here, we see bones, Hapi, the god of the Nile. Look at the color on the pharaoh. And above, we have Horus and Thoth tying Egypt together. And here we have the 7 cows that the pharaoh would take into his afterlife with him. Look at this beautiful color and the detail on the god Hapi, the blue and the gold. Here we have the pharaoh making an offering to Thoth, Osiris again, and these texts, am I right? These texts are from the Book of the Dead.
The Book of the Dead was essentially your guideline on how to enter the afterlife, known as the Duat, and to be allowed by the god Osiris into the field of reeds, where you will live happily for the rest of eternity.
Come through here to this shrine, which was dedicated to Ramses III and the god Osiris, where you see this beautiful wall and the arched ceiling, and something that you notice is that on either side it's equal, it's reflected. What's happening there is happening here. It's mirrored perfectly, and that is to show the ancient Egyptians' belief in the afterlife, to show what you do in this life, it will be happening in the afterlife. The parallel between life and death.
No one can rival her, for she is the most beautiful woman alive. Just by passing, she has stolen away my heart. She who fills the colonnaded halls with her perfume, the land of gold. Her perfect breast draped in the finest of white linens, slender-necked. Gold is nothing compared to her arms. Her fingers are like lotus petals. Her waist is narrow, round buttocks, skin as firm and soft as milk. Her hair is color of the darkest lavender. Beautiful face, my love for her is unique. No one can rival her. She is the most beautiful woman in the world, beloved of moods, Nefertari, the beauty of the beauties.
In our fourth and